Mute. Okay, 7:02 on May 13th already. 24, we can call to order. Okay, we've got a pretty full agenda for tonight. Rather than go through it, we'll do it one by one. We've called to order. The next thing is public comment. Does anyone have public comment? Is there anyone online who has public comment?
No.
Great. So we will move on from public comment to item 3, RMLD EV charger update. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Can you all hear me? Fantastic. All right. So my name's Ajay Pandey. I'm at Reading Municipal Lake Department. I'm the Integrated Resource Specialist. And I wanted to give a brief update on the EV chargers at Reading Public Library. So there are 2 sets of EV chargers at the library. There is a standard ChargePoint branded level 2 charger. This is the standard one you know and love for the past 10 years. And then there's a second charger there that has been there for about 6 months now. It's the big white obelisk that is taller than we are. And that is a DC fast charger. It is much larger. It is much more powerful. And it is effectively a step change in how people use electric vehicle charging. Hello. So I have some handouts for the Board of Trustees. I can also add these in emails to you to have them attached for public viewing as well. So there are 2 sheets here showing utilization on one side and then energy output on the other side. One for the level 2 charger that we've had, a couple of years of data for, and then we have the DC fast charger, which we have data for the first 3 months of 2024. So there are 2 things to keep in mind about how the DC fast charger is being used. The first is that we're seeing roughly a similar number of sessions between the level 2 charger, the normal one, and the DC fast charger. However, we're seeing much shorter charge times for the DC fast charger. People are there plugged in for less time, but people are also using that charger at night. People are using that charger even when the library is closed, which to me suggests there are a lot of people who are heading out from home very early or coming home very late that are charging their car at the library to top up. On the other side, we'll see some graphs. The big thing to keep in mind is that although customers are spending about half as much time at the DC fast charger, the charger is putting out 3 to 4 times the energy output per month. So this is a real demonstration of what the DC fast charger does. The level 2 charger can't. Whereas the level 2 charger is a very, very good option for if this is your destination and you're stopping here and you plug in your car and you'll get 10, 12 miles of range back while you're at the library. With the DC fast charger, you spend 20 minutes charging up, and depending on the state of your battery, you can get 50, 60, 70 miles of range right then and there. It becomes much closer to the gas station experience that we know, as opposed to the public charging experience that we're roughly familiar with nowadays. So these numbers, although these are very, very preliminary, the charger hasn't been online for very, very long, and it's not super well known yet. But even now, this is some very, very promising usage data coming out of this charger. So that's the good news. There's some not so good news as well. So this charger is being run through a grant program run by the State House, in particular the Massachusetts Department of Energy Protection, or DEP. We're going for a grant for them, and this system is part of that grant. There are a couple of requirements we have to meet to make that grant payment, and one of them, we put in all the paperwork, and then they came back, where's your ADA, where's your disability accessible parking spot? So we sent them this photo, or a photo like this, and said, see the accessible ramp hash marks? There is a wheelchair accessible space. And they said no, they need a different one specifically for the DC fast charger. Hence, come again.
Why is that?
Grant requirements. It's part of, so we figured, there's already a ramp accessible parking space there for an EV charger. This should be fine. And then DEP came back and said, no, there needs to be one specifically for the DC fast charger and one specifically for the level 2 charger, which we applied for another grant with the same organization. So both of these chargers need different ramp access spots. Rather frustrating. So I'm reaching out to DPW to get that put together, but I wanted to let you know first and get your thoughts before I go reach out to DPW.
Where does it need to be placed?
Huh?
Where does it need to be placed?
It needs to be placed on one of the spots on that. So there are 2 spots marked out.
White spots here?
The white spot's marked. So the one on the left is the one that's already there. That's already marked out for the level 2 charger. The other one, we're gonna have to mark out one of those spots for the DC fast charger. So instead of 2 spots being open, there'll just be one and then a hashed out spot.
So the white spot on the right is currently an e-charging spot.
Correct.
Taken away.
Exactly.
Given the speed of the DC, is it a way to configure it so 2 handicap accessible cars could get to park there and still take advantage of that fast charger?
Potentially, it really comes down to the length of those cables. That's where things get iffy. I will note that the likelihood of having 2 accessible vehicles parking there at the same time is pretty low. So we only need 1 spot hashed out for that DC fast charger.
And it only has one nozzle, right? Or one thing?
It has 2 nozzles,
Oh.
but they are of different plug standards.
I guess what I'm saying is how many cars can charge at one time?
Theoretically 2, in practice 1.
Why in practice only one?
From what we've seen of the charging data, there's almost never a time when both plugs are being used, in part because one of the plugs, again, grant requirement, is for what's called a CHAdeMO plug, which you may know from Nissan Leafs, a couple of Mitsubishi electric vehicles, and nothing else. So one thing that's marked on this photo is the moment where the requirements for the grant lapse, and then we can do our own thing a little bit. So for the level 2 charger spot, we can free that up in June 2025 and potentially find a more functional use for that spot. For the DC fast charger, that spot will get opened up again in October 2026. And at that point, you will also think about changing the charger plugs to ones that people actually have on their cars.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying here, because I felt like you said, because it's 2 separate grants, each grant requires us to have an accessible spot for it.
Correct.
So then we need to have both of the ones that are here in white. I thought I also heard you say we need to have one of them. So I'm confused.
Yes. Okay. So the level 2 charger spot, that's already hashed out. That's already set. That's already, on the street.
And I just.
The one farthest to the left in the.
Exactly.
Is already there.
It's already there.
Not a parking spot. I just want to be clear. That was never a parking spot.
Oh, okay.
So that was always hashed out because of the turning radius for vehicles coming around the corner.
Yeah.
So that was never a parking spot.
But now it's going to be a parking spot?
No, now it's just,
So it's not to be a handicap accessible spot, it's to allow extra room.
Correct.
For someone
Correct.
to bring a wheelchair out of vehicle. It's extending it to be like a van accessible.
correct.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so we'll need to do the same for the DC fast charger spot. So which of the 2 spots we mark out? It's not hugely important, just that one of them has to be hashed out for that van accessibility.
It's the case we're losing one parking spot.
Yes.
Correct.
We're going 4 to 3.
Which could be theoretically reclaimed after 2026.
Exactly. So hate to give you bad news.
But it's something that when this went in, it should have been done that way then.
Exactly.
Got it. And as to the, I don't know the terminology, the hose, the connect.
Cable, yes.
Cable.
Plug,
The nozzle,
the zapper.
thingamajig. Is there any way to have a more quote universal one now. I know that's a bit of an issue. But if we have one that really works for one car, unless your data's saying like, oh my gosh, like there's so many Mazda users here in Reading that have this one particular brand. Like, is that something that gets swiped out too, or is that like longer period?
So I have two answers for that. The first is while the grant period is live, that plug is stuck there.
Okay.
It's part of the grant requirements in the text. Once 2026 rolls out, hopefully the car industry will have agreed on which plug will rule them all. You're still not quite there. But at that point, we can really reevaluate what plugs we put on there because we're still in the Wild West of figuring out which plug. We're still pre-USB.
Right.
So remember the era when every computer mouse had a different plug attached to it? That's where we are for electric vehicle chargers.
So do we need a motion to allocate this? What's the next step?
I don't feel like we're being asked. I feel like
It's more of an update.
I would at least like to get your comment on it.
I don't think we have a choice. It sounds like people love the DC fast charger. It's not going anywhere. People use it. We have a grant that covers it. Grant requires the spot. We have until 2026 to suffer the inconvenience. We can do what we want. Sounds like not a whole lot we can do, right?
But we can't take that or add that space. Is that correct, Amy?
That is correct. I think you'd have to, I think that has to do with that, the fire trucks getting in there, emergency
Exactly.
vehicles getting in here.
So that has to be Xed out, I guess.
Anyway, yeah.
It already is.
It already is.
Okay.
Even more noticeable.
I mean, again, if with the layout, if we're going to have 3 cars, 2 charging stations, if the middle one could somehow be able to access, that seems to be helpful. But I mean, I don't know if that white space has to be there on the left and the right, or it can be moved around, but
We moved around.
can't really,
Yeah, I like that idea actually.
yeah, but I don't know. I'm just thinking if we've got 3 and 2, it would be nice, but I also, we don't want people.
So in theory, though, so that white space could actually be
It could be that,
in the second slot over.
exactly.
Yeah.
The right-hand car is, that way there would be accessible, but like you said, there's only ever really going to be one person at a time probably using it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. It looks neat that way because it looks bookended, but
Right.
It ultimately matters like what is more functional for people actually using the charger.
Yeah.
I just picked one of them out of a hat effectively.
any preferences?
I would think somebody was more focused on it.
Yeah.
I'll ask the DPW what they think.
I would defer to them, but
There you go.
it'd be nice if they could be used.
Right.
Yeah, okay, sounds good.
Thank you for all this
The
information.
questions?
Yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you.
I guess actually, I do have one more question. Is it helpful to the trustees? Do you want sort of an annual RMLD update on the usage? Would that be helpful for you going forward? Or do you just going to assume that everything's fine? I know, because the question of statistics had come up at least once before. So I think this would be a great time, if you're fine.
I think the data is very helpful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I can give it to you on a more regular basis.
Yeah.
So these graphs are pulled together on at least a quarterly basis.
Okay.
So depending on what you would like, I can either email to all of you, or I can come to the actual meetings and talk about it on camera.
I think it's important to know how popular they are because I've had people come up to me and say, there are all these empty spaces where nobody's parking and they resent the electric chargers because they can't use that space because they don't have an electric vehicle.
Yeah.
So it's important to know that it's being used often so you can say, well, maybe it wasn't being used when you were there, but it's being used a lot, so.
Yeah, I can't necessarily claim that that spot is used more than an empty parking spot, but it is definitely the most popular public EV charger we have in our set.
It'll be used
It's the
more
ones-
and more, I think, as time goes on,
Exactly.
so.
So even in like the other towns that you did you do it in Wilmington?
So we don't have any other DC fast chargers
Oh,
yet.
yeah.
But out of the other level 2 chargers, these are the most popularly used public chargers.
Also seems like there's a lot of capacity left too.
There's absolutely a lot of capacity left.
Seeing 15, 19% utilization, plenty of. availability.
I think, why don't we, you have my email contact information.
Yes.
So if you could just maybe put it in your calendar to send me a quarterly update. And then if you notice something like really big and you want to, come say like, woohoo, it went up or woohoo, it went down, we could talk about adding you to the agenda. And it would be very easy for me to add this just to the packet, like, just as, here's a piece of information, if you guys want to look at this, and then we can invite you back if they want, or you could again, contact me if you have something special you want to report.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, I think that definitely makes sense, get the quarterly updates, and then maybe once a year or something when there are questions. Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, appreciate the.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you.
Excellent. Now, we'll move on to item 4, Pride Statement. And in the packet, there is some draft language. Would you like to address?
So I want to share with everybody, in light of Pride Month coming in June, and also a bit motivated by the events of the bomb threat and the audience that it was targeting, I'd like to encourage us to make a statement of support for the Pride community in Reading, both within our community that uses the library as well as our own staff. So this is a draft statement. I'd appreciate if you've all read it and give your thoughts. Happy to entertain edits, questions. This is similar to how we made a statement supporting the Asia Pacific community, which has been added to the website. And so my proposal is that we would also add this to our website.
Thank you. So we have the draft language. I had 2 comments. One may verge on creating a bit of controversy. My first one's simple, which is statement of solidarity and support in the title.
Yes.
The second, I'm just going to throw it out there. As a board, we have to decide where we are with the Oxford comma.
Oxford, comma.
Let's go for the Oxford comma.
I'm one of the few that actually don't have a dog in this fight.
Oxford, comma.
But I work with a lot of people and I know they can sell matching, but I do believe we have 2 uses, one with and one.
One without, yeah, there's one with and one without.
So,
I'm equal opportunity.
Be consistent.
I don't want to make a stand.
I do, Oxford.
Me too.
Motion to take the Oxford comma forever. Just kidding.
I think we do it in all of our minutes too, so
I'm full Oxford, team Oxford.
but beyond that comment, those 2, I didn't have any other comments, but I'll throw it open to the rest
So
of
we
the
would
board.
then say our library is proud to provide a welcoming, safe, supportive comma and celebratory space. Yes? That's for comma people? Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Which already exists after the word educational in the next to the last line.
Yep.
Yep.
2 others.
And 2 others, right.
Just that one non-Oxford guy.
Any other comments, questions?
Wonderful. I have no comment. I think it's great as is. How would this be used? Where would we be posting this or using it?
I think we can post it. I think we can also, on June 1st, we can have Desiree put out a press release.
That's nice. Yeah.
And I think it'll coincide with actually probably do it in the last week of May before the Pride Parade and to launch Pride Celebration Month.
And on the website, we would put it same spot.
Yeah, where we also have the land acknowledgement there as well.
Right. Yep.
Tiny comment.
Yeah, please.
Where he said we recognize the diversity of this community. Or does that just say our community? Otherwise, this might
Okay.
That's a good point.
sound like it's referring to just the LGBTQ plus community.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
We recognize the diversity of our community and strive to meet. Okay.
I just took over a little bit when I was.
Anything else?
Should we have? So the one we're changing is the this before the community in the next and the last line?
Yep.
Is that correct? Okay, gotcha.
So the three edits are statement of, adding the comma after.
May I make one more statement? If we're recognizing the diversity of our community, then we're meeting the educational, recreational, et cetera, needs of our patrons, all our patrons.
Oh,
Well, I believe the language is meant to start broad and then get to specifically to the support of the Pride community.
Well, we talk about the diversity of our community and also, and therefore strive to meet the informational, educational, and recreational needs of our LGBTQ patrons. Adding therefore before strive. I don't know. Or not.
so what Pat, the intent was that the first sentence is really broad, talking about our whole community.
All right.
And then to bring in the message to be specific to the LGBTQ plus
Okay.
community, since that's the statement of support.
Okay.
In that case, then I could take out my thing. So he was right.
Yeah, so that's why it's saying this community in the last sentence.
Okay. So you want to keep this community?
Well, the goal is to not keep repeating the acronym like 4 or 5 times in 3 sentences, which, we recognize the diversity of the LGBTQ plus community and strive to meet the informational, educational, and recreational needs of our
Could you
LGBTQ plus
get
community.
there?
I'm
And
gonna say,
if you just say we strive, I'm sorry,
and their
and their,
informational
the
education.
diversity of their, yes.
Yeah,
So we recognize the diversity
Diversity
of the LGBT
of our
community.
LGBT,
Okay, there we go. Of
Our
Our LGBT community
LGBTQ plus.
and strive to meet their,
Okay.
Educational needs,
You don't
period.
have to say LGBTQ plus again.
Okay,
Right,
so then the period is after needs. Yes,
yes,
okay.
needs.
It's the Oxford period.
yeah. Right? And
Anybody else? Okay, move we approve the statement of solidarity and support for our Pride community as amended.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? It carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Manette.
thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to item 5, Ad hoc Library Landscape Committee update.
Share my screen. I have your,
My allergies are kicking my butt today, so I
Yeah, everybody, like,
apologize.
days, it just kicked off all.
Hang in there.
It happens a lot.
No worries.
Amy, you might be in the splash zone.
that's okay. You can just, anytime you want me to hit.
Okay, Gallagher shit.
All right, folks, so I appreciate you allocating some time to hear from me. Oh, I apologize. Gena Pilowski, 3 Harriman Avenue. So I've been a member of the Reading Library Landscaping Committee. We've been exploring some options for effectively utilizing more of the outside space. And while the committee is not ready to make a recommendation just yet, I wanted to just take a quick moment and update you folks on what's been happening, because Activitas, and a landscaping architectural firm that we've been working with, has sort of wrapped up some of their preliminary concepts and shared with us. So instead of making you wait a few months, because I know you're all excited to hear from us, wanted to kind of give you a heads up give you some preliminary results while the committee continues its discussion and figuring out, devising a path forward. So it's very likely you will see me or someone else from this committee in the next month or two, depending on how the meetings align, okay? So updates from the Library Landscaping Committee. The members are listed below. There's a lot of overlap. It's great. There's overlap between other committees and residents, direct abutters. So, Amy, if you don't mind going to the next slide. We started out with a simple goal, which was to support Reading Public Library's core mission. I'm quoting it here, pulled it directly from the website. I'm not going to read that. It's lovely. But we wanted to do this by creating a little bit more of a little bit more space outside that allows us to facilitate different learning activities, as well as engagement for small groups. If folks want to spend a little bit more time outside having for example, a book discussion, or having some kids' activities where they learn about native plants. Those are just examples. We're not sold on those particular programs. So in order to do that, we've gotten together, we discussed some of the things that we as a committee wanted to see, but we're not, we're not the ones really driving this. It's being driven by the residents. Those are the needs that we're trying to address. So we proceeded to engage with multiple different stakeholders. Amy, if you don't mind going to the next slide. We started out with community outreach, effectively trying to understand what it is that the members of the residents here, the members who attend the library, what is it that they're looking for? So there was a distributed survey that was done. We also held public sessions. We've obviously engaged with you folks at one point in time, relatively briefly, but you also have some members from Bolt that are on the landscaping committee. And we've also have members from the Reading Public Library staff. So kind of pull in a lot of different people to contribute to this. We've worked with landscaping architects. So that group was Activitas. You might know them from the Birch Meadow complex, that work that's being done. They were responsible for kind of taking that dream and making it a reality. And we were iterating with them to converge on the solution. We also have town staff. And we've included them as members, but non-voting ones. So they attended some meetings whenever they can. They're pretty busy and pulled into everything imaginable. Amy, next slide, please. So the results of the public survey came in, and it was actually pretty well in line with what the committee first brainstormed. On the right-hand side, you see a word cloud that was made by Activitas for us, but the survey itself contained 250 responses, which is pretty good for those for the residents that utilize the library. 90% of the responders said that they come here monthly. And that breaks down into, about 40% that come here weekly and 50 that come in monthly. So that's really, really good. Engagement with folks that are actually spending time here and understand what the space has and how this space can be improved, or the outside space. 35 were satisfied with current events that are being held. I think that's a really good number too. You're not going to get 100% satisfaction. So in terms of batting, that's a pretty good average right there. 55 wanted more events. So 55% wanted more events. So that kind of demonstrates that there is a potential need to evolve the space or create a new additional space for community engagement, learning, et cetera. And some of the things that stood out to us was requests for additional shading and seating. That makes sense, especially if we're talking about the outside space, as well as some of additional green space. So kind of making it a little bit nicer, if you will. Maybe focusing on the native plants, but we'll get there eventually. Amy, next slide, please. So Activitas came back to us with a couple of different preliminary concepts, and the committee sort of focused on one in particular that is being shown here. Some of the items that are labeled, all of this is in the notes in the minutes that we have for our committee, so you can look at it in greater detail. at any point in time. But effectively, if you exit out of that door, one of the things that you'll notice is that there's a paved patio with I can never pronounce this correctly, pergola structure. Really?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Nailed it.
Okay. I've tried this like dozens of times. Pergola, where it not only does it provide some shade, but also a bit of not even, it's not isolation, it's more of just a little bit of privacy, if you will, just by existing. You'll see a few images of what that kind of looks like, and it provides a little bit of, a comfortable place to potentially do some work. And we also looked at seating and a small stage that's just around the corner in the library. There's a slope, so there's an image illustrating the top right-hand corner, kind of a side view of what it would potentially sort of look like. We do sometimes have events here that involve, music, so that would be a kind of a good place potentially. Changing some of the plants would be nice, and so this is sort of what came back to us from Activitas. Now, we were faced with a bit of a chicken and egg problem. We don't know what things cost. They don't know what to design for. So we needed to converge onto something and we needed to start somewhere. This is a great start. We actually had 3 additional designs, but some of them were not viable, maybe due to having the road restructured such that the fire trucks can't get in. Not important. This is kind of what we're showing to you for the time being. Amy, next slide. These are examples of the pergola. So it does provide pretty good shading. Some of the options were discussed were, for example, a roof that automatically senses moisture and rain and closes by itself. And that's super duper fancy, and that's awesome. We love it. Probably not going to get it. It seems excessive, seeing as how no one's really going to be holding activities out there in the middle of a hurricane. So, but nevertheless, some seating, some chairs, so that folks can sit and potentially do work, do reading, whatever it is that they may want to do in that space. Next slide covers a little bit more about seating, right? There's a couple different things that were proposed. Chairs and benches where, once again, smaller groups can congregate and have a discussion, be it about a book or a magazine or an event here, whatever it may be. Amy, next slide, please. So the cost breakdown came to us, and all of these different things, including hardscaping and retaining wall, et cetera. And the price tag came to $1.3 million. Now, at first we were shocked, and I'm sure you are as well. But one needs to take a step back for a moment or so and really break it down. So this is a preliminary cost estimate. I'm emphasizing things in blue. This is not the expected cost. We will not be using taxpayers to fund this, and we'll be looking for funding through additional, be it grants or donations. So we're conscientious of the bills that are coming down the pipe for this town. We don't want to add any more to it, right? But we needed to start somewhere, and we had no intentions of holding back Activitas in what they think they can design for us right off the bat. We don't want to put any barriers in front of them. We just wanted to see what is effectively the art of possible, if you will. And so we kind of gave them free rein and gave them some suggestions, and this is what they came with. And we also talked to them about additional options. So, all right, 1.5 or 1.3 million might be quite a bit. Is there an alternative to that? Can we bring it down, say, by a factor of 2? Bring it down to something more manageable, maybe 750 or so. It's roughly what the committee was discussing. And that's where we left off as a committee. If you have any questions, I'm going to try to be really careful answering them because I don't want to speak for the committee as a whole. So bear with me here. Activitas actually did a pretty good job in not only this and showing us what is out there, what is possible, but in turning around, and they were able to come back to us relatively quickly and say, hey, look, here's an alternative where we scoped some of the things, changed some things, and yeah, we got it to 750 pretty easily. Right? So there's a lot of flexibility. I don't want to get too fixated on this number. It's a starting point. We now have a roadmap to 750, for example, as our total budget. The committee will be meeting evaluating that particular proposal, seeing what else we can do in terms of not only funding this effort, but who potentially could also provide a similar solution in order to make sure that we do our due diligence prior to making a recommendation to this committee. All right. Next slide, please. So next steps is we're going to continue to engage with the community. We have some idea of what it'll end up looking like. We want to bring that forth to the public. Maybe have a poster displaying options in the library, just as an example. Still brainstorming these things. There needs to be a refinement of the actual concept. We need to examine how we can reduce cost. Nothing was gold-plated, but it also wasn't necessarily the cheapest material out there. Frankly, we don't want the cheapest, we want somewhere in between. And that's kind of what we're trying to converge onto. So we need to have further discussion with landscape architects and identify sources of funding, be it state or federal or local. Different groups might have some money that they're willing to pledge to a project, not necessarily just give it away, but kind of put forth in as a pledge. So those are the options that we're exploring or will be exploring as a committee in the next meeting or two. And once we decide and have a clear road map, we will be coming back to you folks and giving you a better overview of what the recommendation is effectively from the landscaping committee. I believe that's the last slide.
So.
I'm happy to stick around for a little bit longer and answer any questions that you might have. And I appreciate the time you folks allocated to this. So thank you.
Anyone have any follow-up questions? On the non-voting town members, who are they now? Because I know
Non-voting committee members, the non-voting committee members. So we had Fidel.
Okay.
So I suspect that Matt is also more than welcome to join us at any time. We had Ben Cares. I don't believe there's a replacement for him just yet.
Yeah.
And we had Andrew McNichols. So he's also been exceptionally swamped recently. So they've participated here and there.
I'll just add too that we have run this by fire, police, DPW, and facilities. And in DPW, it also included not only the director of DPW, but the town engineer. And so they were sent all the storm drain, because we have all of that stuff, the drainage and where the water pipes are, the sewer pipes are. So as a conceptual design, it's probably very doable, meaning based on the information they have. They didn't just come and do a picture. It involved significant amount of research and measuring and things like that. So and again, police, fire, DPW, and facilities. So facilities would know about wiring and all that other stuff. So and the safety piece of it. They all sort of seemed to think that this was a decent presentation of doable presentation for them to maintain or them to put in or things like that.
You saw only a couple of slides that we pulled out from the presentation given to us by Activitas. They have dozens of slides and multiple pages of the actual cost breakdown. Removing soil, making sure that there's a retaining wall, et cetera. Just saw a snapshot of it. That's all.
The plans are really quite thorough.
The plans are very thorough.
The breakdown of the costs were also quite thorough.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And was like 2 or 3 pages in pretty fine print.
Yep.
I needed my reading glasses for it.
Question?
Is it okay if I ask a
Yes.
question? Does it take away green space though? I love that like amphitheater seating, but does it add any trees or actual green space, or is it mostly like structures?
Yeah, so I don't believe it will take away much green space. I haven't counted up the trees, but I think we asked them to preserve as many trees as possible that are already existing. And I believe it's actually adding green space it depends on how you define it. Like, all right, so effectively we remove a plot of grass. That's gone. pagoda goes in. But around the pergola, around the pergola, there were flower beds, for example, in some of the images. So not exactly sure exactly how one would define, like maybe in terms of surface area, yes, but in terms of quality, it's an improvement. We were really asking for a lot of native plants, which can be used by local insects like pollinators, right? And then seeds and birds would come in. So we're trying to not lose green space. That makes sense. We're conscientious about drainage and water, being able to maintain the landscape, if you will, once it's done. So there's a budget, there's an item in there in the price breakdown that actually said, hey, we're going to take this much amount of money and put it effectively in an account where we just skim off the top every year to be able to maintain the vegetation that they put in. That kind of makes sense. Is that okay?
I have a question. What struck me about the amphitheater area, which I think it's absolutely great, is just this proximity to the driveway, which is the main egress as cars are leaving the libraries to come around back there. Was there any thought put into putting in some sort of a barrier there? If you're thinking a lot of children are going to be out in that area and you've got where it's the main egress from the library.
The only egress.
That's the only egress.
So,
You're talking about,
yeah, and
To see how that comes right up against that drive?
dark green to the.
Green, yeah, planted.
Oh, okay.
Planting and trees.
Oh, okay. Got it. I didn't see that. Thank you.
Yeah, this is actually a sidewalk in between.
Yeah, okay.
Some of is a different color green represent
New,
existing and new? I think it does,
I think the dark green are new plant.
new plantings, right?
Yeah.
So there'll actually be greenery added, trees added,
yeah,
To the right of the stage.
Yeah.
right?
lose some surface area, win on the volume.
Yeah.
Yep.
Density, yeah.
We have a sense as to how attractive that is to skateboards.
Well, and this is where the value engineering comes in. So, yeah, so.
Are you referring to the tiered seating by any
I'm
chance?
just thinking, you go down, like, it's mainly green, so I'm guessing can't be that attractive, but
Yeah.
I'm,
No, it's a good question to think about in terms of
There's a lot of stuff on the property that's already
skateboard friendly.
skateboarding,
I would think so.
I mean, I don't know.
Thing that,
Didn't we have some, well, I'm not gonna say.
I've been out skateboarding a lot lately.
We've had some interesting uses of our hardscaping railings and steps. Just put it that way.
That makes
I
sense.
don't want to give anyone any ideas.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Sharing this.
Okay.
Thanks for letting us assemble.
the RMLD presentation.
Yeah.
Right, folks?
Great, thank you,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Feel
Feel better.
All right. Moving right along to item 6, State of the Collection Report.
We are going to table that. Jamie was unable to attend today.
Okay.
So we're going to push that back to June.
Do we need a motion to table or can we just?
Yes, motion to, Jamie is unable to attend.
Motion to table.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Thank you.
Motion carries, and we move on to the local history room policy, a review of the policy. So we have red lines
Yep.
and a clean version. Thought the red lines were clear, but I don't know if you want to, any particular things you want to highlight, or?
Just to the points of the changes are really, again, this is, we're trying to make sure we get the procedure out of there and get the policy into there, make sure it's strictly policy. There are some changes in that, like, before it was like, oh, you can't bring your bags in there. And we did quickly realize that after trying to implement that, we don't want to be responsible for people's belongings. So yeah, so you can bring a backpack in there. So some of the actual working through the procedures of what our previous policy had, we realized we just want people to come in and say who they are, use it as appropriately, and if we can bring them the materials, we're going to do that. If they have to use the space, There's a certain amount of, the procedures will include a certain amount of orientation, but we want them to use the space safely. And then we want to see them leave
Without the things.
without damaging anything. Yeah, so, and actually, I think Sarah Kelso and Jocelyn Gould, the local history librarian, were very instrumental in making some of these changes. They pulled out a lot of the procedures. We now have it's much more detailed procedure document, which is nice because, for our staff, because then, you know, if something changes, then we just have to change the procedure. You know, we said, fine, use your cell phone in the local history room. Some of this was also about reducing barriers, so like such as the cell phone. So we don't want to be too restrictive. But a lot of the deletions were just sort of about the perfunctory, like about procedure versus policy. And it shortens it up a bit.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Under scope, so this non-circulating e-collection,
That is not supposed to be an E.
but it's not supposed to be E, right? 'Cause
No, it's
there are
not.
actual physical things.
Right, yeah, it's non-circulated. In the merged one, I think we corrected that.
Okay. So, oh, maybe I should only be looking at that version then.
So a very minor edit, bullet point 5 on the amended or final copy needs a period.
Yep. Yep.
On the second page, on the reproduction and photocopying,
Yep.
items apostrophe S. Last word on the second
That
line.
one got me too. I wasn't sure if that was the intention.
Depending on the item's condition. What
Item,
is the condition of the item?
the condition of the item.
Under conditions for accessing materials, I
Yes.
think there's supposed to be a period after reader's advisory desk.
Yes.
And then under the please note, when we talk about like no food or drink or chewing gum, no pens, all makes complete sense to me, but if we're allowing people to carry bags and things into the room now,
Yeah.
this seems less
I think, yeah.
forcible. I mean, you're not going to search anybody's bag, where before when we weren't allowing that, you couldn't carry much in.
Yeah.
Well, maybe at least they won't dig it out of their bag and use it.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's the request of the honor system kind of
Yeah.
thing. And we do
Yeah,
check,
use of pens not available
right,
if they're in the pocket.
right. And if they do use it, then I believe, and if you don't mind me asking, Andrea, we do check on the folks once they're in there, you know.
Well, it's a little bit hard now that research and reader services is on a different floor than it, but we do have to we have to unlock the door for them, and then we have to go and lock it again when they're done. So it gives us a couple of access points to sort of guide the patron, but also just check to see what's happening in the room.
And I believe the new procedures have for any librarian, letting someone in there, hi, my name is librarian 1, and here are the 5 things that you really need to know about using this space.
Actually, there are 6.
6, okay, here are the 6 things. And in addition to, you know, here, because a lot of the materials are locked.
Yeah.
So they can't get into any of that. So it would be like, oh, we're just using the street lists. Great, here are the street lists. No pens, no food, no drink.
How about also having it posted?
Yeah,
Do we have a little sign in there?
We do have something.
We do have something.
And I think there's also a QR code. where-
yeah, yes, I believe so with it.
And anything that's locked, we're just requiring them to bring it downstairs to the R&R desk to actually access the material with the staff member present.
Yeah. So we encourage that more than sitting in the room for, you know, study purposes.
The other thing I'd question is the patrons who engage in behavior that could cause damage to materials may be denied access. It feels like where this is, you know, I understand the library wanting to be a welcoming place to all, and if you behave inappropriately, we'll give you other chances in the greater library space, but where this is such delicate material, if someone's engaging in behavior that could cause damage to materials, maybe we should consider saying will be denied.
Okay.
But I'm happy to have other people weigh in here. It just seems like it's really delicate material.
I mean, I guess it's just a question of like, are they chewing gum or are they like taking notes in the margins of the book we can't replace?
Okay,
If-
I see what you're saying. I was thinking like, yeah, obvious, I wasn't thinking
Yeah.
gum, I was thinking like
guess we're
they're ripping
extra
material.
vets.
Yeah, I mean, you could
Okay,
have somebody
that's
who's
fair.
a regular user who
Pulls out a
gets
pen by
gets sick
accident.
Water.
one day.
Yeah, yeah.
And through no fault of themselves.
Okay.
Not get banned for life. But I think, I like having the flexibility to.
Okay,
Trust the staff to make the right decisions.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds as if it's behavior in the sense of it's conscious.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to do this and ruin this.
Yeah.
Not, I got sick and I couldn't help it. Or, something beyond my control. But it's like if someone goes in there and deliberately tries to deface stuff or, I know there have been situations in places like the Boston Public Library where people go into restricted areas and they steal stuff.
Yeah.
Or they rip pages out of an old book because it's a page they want. So that's the kind of stuff that I think is engaging in bad behavior, but other things I think probably aren't. If you're chewing gum and, you manage to, nobody knows that you're doing it, I guess you're not sticking the gum in the pages to stick them together and wreck it. I mean, I don't know.
I'll just add anecdotally that since 2021, sort of post-COVID, but we implemented this before it was an open room. It is much more secure. We don't have, the biggest problem we had were younger people coming in after school and, playing chase with the chairs, the rolly chairs and things like that. And they weren't necessarily damaging anything, but they were definitely disruptive and we're not using the space as it was designed. So we kind of encourage them now to go to their space that they have. They have a wonderful space. So in general, I think it's this policy overall is doing exactly what it was meant to do, which was to really address the needs of a special collection that we can't replace. So.
Have you had to deny anyone access?
No. And it actually works out well because Jocelyn does these one-on-ones. So people are very, there are the heavy users that know what they're doing when they're coming in. Then we have people that are just curious about, I'd like to look up some stuff about, do you have anyone who can help me? And so Jocelyn does these one-on-ones and they get a great introduction to this space. I think Jocelyn and the other staff too, but, are very, have an excellent, very professional presence to really stress how important these materials are and the care that we take for them. I mean, I think when you're like, here's a pillow for which you may, put the thing on and, that helps people understand that these aren't the paperbacks that you take to the beach. And, so it does give it its appropriate gravitas, I guess. So.
The biggest problem we used to see was people defacing the yearbooks because they'd cut things out or make copies and just make a mess. And since we locked those up and got them fully digitized, that has really improved greatly.
We do try to drive people to the digital copies whenever we can.
Digital copies are great, yeah.
I would imagine that most people, all they need to know is what the information is. They don't need to see the actual document in their hand. So the digital copy would be adequate for
yearbook
research purposes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to know when someone was born in writing, you don't necessarily have to see the town clerk's handwritten notification that so-and-so was born in such and such a date in 1897. So you just need to know that that's what happened.
Any other comments or questions on the draft policy? Okay, hearing none, I think we had a handful of minor edits that I think we captured that can be incorporated, and then we will be seeing this again in a month. Next, moving on to item 8, which is going to be a vote on the Celebration Trust Committee appointment. Amy, would you like to address that?
Yes, I checked with Phil Rushworth, and he would like to be reappointed to the Celebration Trust Committee. And so we just need a motion and vote on that.
Reappoint Phil to the,
Philip Rushworth,
Philip Rushworth to the what?
Celebration Trust.
Trust Committee.
Second.
And seconded. Any comments, questions, discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Okay. Motion carries. Bring us to items 9 and then 10, the financial report and the director's report.
So you have our your printed financial report. We're right on target. We're looking at salaries we knew were going to be under budget because of transitions. We watch, Megan and Jamie and I are now watching all of our other expense spending on kind of a weekly basis, because we just really want to come in right at the end of June 30th on target for materials and on target for other expenses. On Monday, April 29th, the town budget went through town meeting. It was a little, there was definitely some comments and things, not particularly with the library, but it took us an hour and a half, a couple hours to get through. But it passed overwhelmingly. So it was a good budget. The library's request was a 3.6 increase. I like to include that spending scorecard. It's something that kind of slips by in the big budget warrant for the meeting that includes the budget. It does give you a breakdown, and I think it's helpful to see sort of the scope of the library budget in amongst everything else. If you're interested, we do have a public copy of the warrant that you're welcome to browse through. You're welcome to borrow mine. Do you have one from town meeting? Yes. So. But it has the whole school budget. It has everybody's budget with all of their statistics. It's all online. Yeah. But it's fun. Yes. And so again, thanks Joe from our FinCom liaison. But I think it went really well. And so that's always sort of a relief of, whew, we kind of got through that. Other than that, there's just a quick report on the gifts. We had mostly cash gifts this last month. And that's all it is with finance. Question?
Any questions on finance? Hearing none. Director's report.
So I won't go through this piece by piece. Just one quick update. The exterior lockers are fixed. Yay! So just a quick update on the fix. I believe there's actually a piece of cloth.
There's a cloth thing up here.
Say that again?
Gray cloth.
There's a gray cloth that you have to lift up. So the damage was coming, and yes, they should figure out a fix for this because the sun was coming in and it was actually damaging the screen. And they don't have a product that's going to withstand that amount of sunlight, apparently, which should, so you can use it. They're working on some ways to encourage it. And the way that it was fixed didn't require any drilling or any, further modification that could damage the insides to the thing. So it was the safest, most reasonable, I guess, fix. So now becomes the negotiations on our 2025 maintenance contract. So
They manufactured a product that couldn't be in sun and never said it cannot be in
outdoor.
sun.
Well, they never realized it. I guess I didn't really think about it. But we're not the only ones who are going through this. So I think there's an incentive there to fix that.
You mean other exterior products are exposed to the sun?
Put it in Phoenix and it just melts.
Right? Exactly. Well, and sometimes these are under like at a, if you get to a big county branch, it might be at something under a big shelter, like a big bus stop. And we considered doing that, but we're like, oh no, we have this great overhang. It's not going to get rain on it. It's not going to get snow on it. There will be light, so you can see it. But yeah.
It's a very convenient spot too.
It's an extremely convenient spot. So trust me, we're gonna, every time there's any kind of comment, feedback, we'll just be like, fix your screen, fix your screen, fix your screen.
That's
So we'll just keep going on with that. But it's good to have them going up, and I think we might be doing a PR launch, like lockers are back. Maybe we should.
We should, but I haven't heard.
From Val or Jamie, yeah.
I didn't know if they were like
Oh, they're
nervous about it.
I think they also want to figure out, like, is there a way we can do Velcro things so you can just kind of like, maybe that's already there. So, but give it a try.
Okay. I'm no expert. I'm trying to use this compass, though. It seems like it's east to west, like it would be actually well positioned
Yeah.
to not get direct sunlight.
Just low enough
Just low enough?
that it gets the sunshine, so.
The compass on my phone for once.
One time we need it.
Just curious, though, you said there's a cover now on the screen. Is there signage that says, please cover back?
I think that's what they're working on. And we did say, and we've talked about that. And the thing is that staff will have to go out there once in a while to put the books out there and things. So we'll figure out a rotation to kind of go check on the machine regularly. It is a little bit more work for us, but we're gonna do what we can with it and see how that works out.
Cross promotion with the history room.
There we
go. It's like an old timey photograph. Get underneath.
We just had the animal extravaganza. It was just last, I said coming up, but forgetting that it would happen before this, but that was a really great event. I don't know, there were donkeys, there were miniature horses, there were bunnies, and the snakes were like the most popular thing. There were like 9 kinds of snakes and
Like 15.
yeah. So people had pictures of them. They could hold the snakes and all these other things. But it was very popular and it was it was a great family event. And there were actually even had some teenagers stop by. Probably the snakes, I'm guessing, were very attractive to that. But it was, I have to say, it was one of the events that we do that just really shone a spotlight on how the teams work together, because we had everybody, between promotion and cutting out pieces for the crafts and making sure the crafts were available in different ages and making things accessible, scheduling, working with facilities for the overtime. We had to cut the custodians did an amazing job with the setup and breakdown. And so it was just really a great, library-wide event for the community. So just.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a note. Megan really helped get some teen volunteers in to work the event as well. So
Hey, Megan Clemente. So thank you very much for that, and we'll be going.
I understand why you had the snakes here, but I have to say, when I saw the wagon that had the snake sign on it, the reptile sign, I was going to return a book to the library, and I didn't do it.
Yes.
I saw that going in, and I thought, no, I'm going to wait for later. I'll bring it over tomorrow.
I 100% agree with you, and it takes all kinds.
It doesn't, I'm sure some people are clearly interested, but I was clearly not.
Someone asked me this morning, one of the staff members, I was like, how'd it go? They're like, good. And, actually, a little quick update is that the fish have been redistributed, I guess, to other people, and we are getting a turtle up in a terrarium rather than the fish tank. It's a little easier to maintain, basically, and turtles live a decent amount.
200 years.
I know. So at any rate, I was speaking about the turtle thing and asking about that. And then right after that, I said, how's the animal thing? And they were like, oh, do you like snakes? And I just looked at the staff member. I was like, well, not in the library. I wasn't sure whether they were going because oh, we have a turtle. The next we'll have a snake. I was like, not in the library. But they were just.
Outside, they aren't that great either, Tom.
I proceeded to then see a whole bunch of different pictures of staff members with different snakes on them. And how I can handle. But yes, we will not have snakes in the library.
Puppies, I'm sure, were very popular too.
Yes, there's a little puppy booth. So, and also just a shout out to Andrea, who's going to be attending an intensive train the trainer for issues surrounding First Amendment, SIPA, and social media, internet privacy, and confidentiality. That's being run by the American ALA Association of Law Librarians. How many in your cohort do you know?
3 from Massachusetts.
3 from Massachusetts.
2 school librarians.
Yeah.
When is that?
End of this month.
Elizabeth was able to get a MLS grant for a course on Libraries and Aging 101. So it's always great when we get funded training. So, and then just our regular list of a selected list of what people have been working on. As usual, it's just always very
I'll
interesting.
be asking her about those things when she's finished her course. I want to know how to be empowered as a jury.
Okay, any other questions? I don't really have anything else to report from the director's report. April's usually, but, you know, we had a big vacation week, and so we had a lot of, it was very busy up here, which is a little surprising. April vacation's usually a little quieter, but it was quite busy this year. And we're just getting ready for our summer reading. That's really basically between now and June. We're looking forward to summer sizzlers. We're looking forward to the summer reading, Juneteenth Freedom Festival. And I did mention too, the Library Consortium series, which is this new, I think there was a bill in the current warrant. And there's actually, Andrea, you can speak to that, how many programs they have. You want to tell them what the consortium?
Yeah, I think I probably gave you a little bit of a preview the last time I presented on programs, but we're going to call it the Friends Speaker Series. We're just rebranding it, but it's the name of the organization is the Library Speaker Consortium, and you subscribe to it to get like best-selling authors and hot topics. You get about 4 programs online per month. You subscribe for a whole year. And they have everything from best-selling authors like Shelby Van Pelt of the Octopus book, Remarkable
Curious
Great
Creatures.
Creatures, and Amar Tolles from Gentlemen in Moscow, to business leaders and health and wellness coaches and teen authors. We have Kate DiCamillo coming for children's authors in the summer. We have a whole summer reading thing in July. They also have, an agreement with the Smithsonian Institute. So various curators from the Smithsonian speak. There's one on Mars, there's another on the space station coming up this summer. So the way that works is we have access to everything, all the live events. We have access to their entire back catalog even before we subscribe. So they've been around for 2 or 3 years now. And when folks register, they can either watch it live or go back and watch it whenever they want. And we'll also be doing some of the programs as watch parties or some kind of in-person tie-in to better promote them and try to bring people into the building. But it breaks down to a little bit under $200 per program for a lot of content. So we will be piloting this year and hoping we can get decent turnout even though it's online.
Does it have a maximum number of participants? Is it like licenses or something? No.
No, and not only that, but anyone who stumbles upon our content can register through us. So it doesn't exclude, say, North Reading residents from getting to sign up and watch our content.
Do you need the Noble card or just anything?
You don't need anything except to register for the talk.
And it's the first one in June?
The first one is June 3rd, and it is a Smithsonian talk about Mars. Yeah. And I think mostly it'll be YA and adult content, like 80% adult content, maybe 20% YA or YA crossover. And then in the summer, they just have just over a month of children's programming.
I could see that being like its own newsletter, the Friends Speaker Series for this month includes, or like.
Yeah, Michelle's working on for the front page of the summer brochure on a breakout thing, so that it's kind of branded as its own thing. So people kind of understand to expect big names and always online. And Desiree's working on a press release to announce the subscription in the program.
It seems as if you should also put it on one of the screens.
Yes.
Library, I mean, because it's the kind of thing that seems as if, first of all, people need to know about it to use it. And the more publicity you can do on it, the better.
Yeah, we're
sure to be
heavily promoted, I think, because it is virtual and that's going to be confusing. It's also confusing.
Right.
Go live or get it later, or how it works.
It sounds as if it's something that people would enjoy, especially if
The content's amazing. I mean, the content is really high quality.
Especially since you can use older ones whenever you want.
Yeah.
So, that's perfect, I would think.
Yeah.
Does that historic go to the same price tag? Like, is there going to be funding issues coming up with it in terms of the budget that the Friends have with it?
Well, this year we're using I'm splitting it between the 2 fiscal years because we didn't know about it until we were well into this fiscal year, like I'd never heard of it. And then when I heard of it, I was like, I want to do that, but it was, it's 3,500 for our population size to do it per year. So 1,000 is coming out of gift funds this fiscal year, and then 2,500 is coming out of
From the Friends.
the Friends pilot money. So if it's successful, we will ask for it mostly out of the adult programming budget from the Friends going forward. Or come back into the foundation or something. I'm not sure, but we'll just have to wait and see if we can get enough people to attend to make it work.
Sounds something you might want to try for a couple of years before you scrap it if it doesn't seem to work well the first year. I think people sometimes need to know about stuff and word spreads. Did you see this thing on TV, online? It was great. You'd love it. And, people will tell other people about it, I think. So we may want to try it for at least a couple of years before we decide maybe it's not great. I hope it works. Sounds wonderful.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think if we're creative, if we tie it into enough book groups, if we take it to the schools, we'll be able to take the content with us to the senior center. In fact, I think we already have a watch party planned to the senior
That's
center.
cool.
That's great.
They want on demand, so that's what it is.
Yeah.
And if it grows, I mean, this would be something that I think the foundation really likes, everything except name of it.
Sounds great.
They
That
would
would be it.
consider naming rights, Pat. If you want to give money, they'll consider naming rights.
The June 13th.
As I always say, the foundation, we're not your friends.
Yes. June 13th is the next foundation meeting.
Yes.
Feel free to go pitch.
I just want to make
The Friends
sure.
have only just barely started, so
Okay.
we'll see how that works, but.
No, I think it's a great idea. I was just wondering when you were talking about the backlog library and then say per program, I'm like, well, it sounds like it's almost like the equivalent of like going into Canopy and opening up great courses.
Yeah.
Saying, I want to do a bunch of great courses things.
Yeah.
Great.
Sounds cool.
You know where to find us. Thank you. Excellent. And I will be curious to hear, in June or another subsequent meeting that you're able to make. I think some of the Chicago stuff will be interesting after you attend that.
I think I'm presenting for summer program at the next trustees meeting.
Okay, so we can add that.
You want to hear about the law too? You might want to give that presentation yourself, but I can try.
It'll be interesting. Great. Thank you very much.
I have a quick question. I think, Michelle, probably directed to you. Noticing under professional development, the sampling, one of them is how to train your community on Libby. And so just curious, if we've done a sort of an introductory session on, for people who still don't really know how to use Libby or Canopy or Hoopla.
This is more of an Andrea question.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I went technical.
We
Yeah.
did have, what's it called, Michelle, on the website where you take the short little.
Oh, niche
Academies, yes. We have a whole library
So we did
of
have
those.
a niche academy and several other little how to kind of like YouTube content, but through something more specialized to libraries. And then our elder services librarian did it at the senior center.
Okay.
Honestly, the way that this usually plays out at the reference desk is people want the help in the moment with their device when it's not acting
Okay.
the way they think it is. And it's like that with
Okay.
tablets and just almost any tech help we give. Usually people come to us, like we try to do a job series and show people how to maybe set up a resume or something, but then they never really show up for those events. But when they need us in a pinch, then they want it on demand. So that's what we find with Libby is people come in when they're like, I don't know how to install it, or how do I download the content, or that kind of thing. That's when we really see people.
Okay.
Isn't this list, though, the stuff that's being taught in this?
No, I'm
Oh.
sorry. I should have put another header in there.
That's what I sort of understood.
Yes.
All right. So,
I forgot a header. That header should have been after Elizabeth powering mature adults. There should have been and selected.
so this is some of the stuff that people have been
Yep.
to. Okay, sorry, I misunderstood.
No worries.
Thank you.
Any other questions on anything in the director's report or discussed? Hearing none. Next agenda item is review and approval of our April meeting minutes that are contained.
All right, some maybe typos, I don't know. On page 2, under votes, safe child policy, second paragraph, it says note, should it be noted?
Yes, we can fix that.
And on financial report on the first line, should it be Ms. Lennon recommended? Or do you want to keep it as present tense?
Recommended is fine.
Yeah, we can change to recommended.
And on page 4, a period after Middlesex Ave, or else write the word out. Under director's report, third line from the bottom, 59 Middlesex Ave, either a period after Ave or the whole word. So my English teacher had away now.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. Okay.
Which still means that if Andrew signs the last page, there's no changes to the last page, and we can use this in the page and make the correction.
Anything else?
As always, it was incredibly thorough.
Yeah.
I don't know how she types that fast, but amazing.
Quietly. I mean, granted, I'm over here, but I normally am.
No, it's only 2 fingers.
Yeah.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
Motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Yeah.
Second.
Motion seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of accepting minutes? Thank you very much. Last, we have our future agenda items, a preview of a busy June with the summer programming update that we got the foreshadowing for. Community DEA assessment update. I think that what that is going to be is, Amy, and you can clarify, that'll be Albert coming in to essentially give a summary of the presentation that was made to the select board for those that missed it as to the findings and conclusions of the assessment. We'll vote on that history policy. We will elect new officers. We'll vote on our future dates and the holiday schedule. Anything else for the future item?
Do the collection services update, the state of collection update is, oh, I'm sorry, that was just tabled. I actually think maybe we won't move that. I'm sorry, I misremembered. Jamie and I discussed actually moving that to August or possibly September after the year end close. That way we're doing state of the collection FY '24. So it'll be nice because you'll have the statistics of how many we added, how many we deleted, this year, money spent during that fiscal year. So we might permanently shift that report to August.
I like that idea.
It's after the close of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Is this coming Sunday, the last Sunday we're open for the summer?
Yes.
Is this the date?
Yep, because we don't do Memorial Day.
Right. Okay, so this Sunday is the last Sunday until
October
thing.
Day.
We restart the Sunday after Columbus Day?
No, we start before.
October 6th.
October 6th? Okay, thanks, Megan.
And we are open the Sunday before Columbus Day.
Sunday, okay.
Do you promote that? Like, hey, last Sunday?
I'm actually writing a note to myself right now to do that.
Okay.
We do.
I think that'd be a good idea.
Something out, like just a reminder.
Excellent. Any other future agenda items anyone would like to suggest? Hearing none.
Move to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. It has been seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
You didn't give us a chance to say anything.